Named after her grandmother, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele was born in the late 40s and describes her upbringing in Limpopo as rural. She says that growing up in a village meant she did not know about apartheid.
It's only when I got to medical school that I understood that there was a system that is based on the hierarchy of human beings depending on where they were, which was quite extraordinary. So going to medical school was a choice I had to make because there were no other occupations open to black women at the time or open to black people at the time, other than being a teacher, a nurse, a policeman, or some such.
That realization sparked her political involvement. She became a student activist and later a member of the Black Consciousness movement. Mamphela listened to tapes of Malcolm X's recordings and read literature from the likes of French-Algerian doctor Frantz Fanon.
And in fact, when we grew up, we were called non-whites, non-Europeans in an African country. Are you kidding? But somehow people had accepted it, including the liberation movements of the time had accepted this definition of being the other. So that's where we started being the revolutionaries who said, no, we are going to name ourselves.
It was her love for reading, arguing and analyzing things that led Mamphela to venture into academia. The year was 1984. Her banishment order for her political activities had come to an end, and she took a post as a research fellow at the University of Cape Town. 12 years later, she was appointed as the university's vice-chancellor, the first black South African woman to hold the position at any academic institution in the country. It was a challenging task at a time when the country was in transition and racism was still rife.
Well, I went in as a very reluctant vice-chancellor. First as a deputy vice-chancellor and later as a vice-chancellor. Because my focus was more on the analytical academic side. But Mr. Mandela was very insistent that we need to be able to transform some of the key institutions in South Africa to demonstrate how transformation can find expression at the institutional level. So he said, I know you are always wanting to follow your own mind. This time round, I'm going to insist that you do this. So I had no choice.
She stayed there until 2000, when she joined the World Bank as managing director, becoming the first African and only the second woman to hold that position. While known for her strong business acumen, there's another side few get to see.
I'm a spiritual person, so I love going away on retreat. I go to a convent in Cape Town, a Catholic convent run by Dominican nuns, Springfield.
And how often do you get away?
Not as often as I want to, but at least once a year. But since I'm now doing this very intense work with the political party, I'm going to try and do it at least once every 6 months.
The political party occupying her time these days is called Agang, a Sotho word meaning build. At the launch, Mamphela called it a journey to build the country of South Africans' dreams.
My son was also one of those people who said, Mom, you can do whatever you want. I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but what you're dealing with is a fundamental flaw in the governance process, and that requires a political solution. I said, but you know, I've never been a member of a political party, never had political ambition. So this is not about political ambition, it is about the future. And so once that message was repeated over and over the last 2 years, I had to finally say, well, then let me be the bridge between your generation as my sons and daughters and my generation that fought for freedom, and many of whom have really made the ultimate sacrifice.
Agang has received mixed reviews, but with the party only having just launched, Mamphela is optimistic.
Africa has to free itself from feeling trapped in post-colonial political systems. Agang is an initiative that's intended to introduce a new type of way of doing politics, where there will be no place for male domination, no place for authoritarian approaches to power relationships. It will be a platform open to making sure that we leverage the youthful population of South Africa. And I hope that other African countries will give a thought to establishing new political formations that will leverage the strength of Africa, which are its people.
Sign up for our newsletter, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. This and much more at Africa.com. Africa.com, changing the way the world sees Africa.